Welcome to the Ministry Chick Network podcast. I am so excited. We're joined today by Dr. Brandy Baxter and Katrina Collins, and we are in for a fabulous, I mean, probably a little bit wackadoodle, but fabulous conversation today. And Katrina, I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity. Most of our listeners have some experience with Brandy and they know a little bit about her. But for those that are meeting you for the first time today, can you share just a little bit about yourself, your leadership journey, ministry background, and what you're doing today? So give us a little context of your life.
Okay, I'm gonna try to give you my fast 60 seconds. So I
Yes.
am a middle child born from Tyler, Texas. Two hardworking blue collar parents that taught us, if nothing else, how you treat people matters. I think that shaped
Oh,
almost every endeavor of my life. I was able to start working very early. Why? Because my parents had high aspiration for myself. I did for myself. And then money would get
mm,
tight. So I started waitressing tables at 14. Learned a lot
oh,
about if you want it, go get it. Do not make
oh.
excuses. And there's no such thing as helplessness. You help yourself. And then from there, ventured off to college. You know, my first husband, my high school sweetheart, and I, we tried to manage a family at age 19, 20. We managed that family to age 28, and that was more than enough. And we allowed each other to be our better versions of ourselves. From that marriage, I have a 29-year-old. I have a 23-year-old, and I inherited a stepdaughter 8 years ago when I remarried. I relocated to the Dallas Metroplex in 2004, in which I had an aunt that attended Friendship West, and I said if I ever moved to Dallas, that would be my um, Dallas church. And from there, I was able to attend um, a seminary under Freddie
Mm.
Haynes, and that was the Howard Thurman Bible Institute. So I was ordained there, and through one of his brothers in the ministry, Robert Kennedy. I credit both of those men for giving me shape and voice. And one of the
Oh,
things that we had to do at the Howard Thurman Bible Institute was every element. They taught us, or we had to get feedback on teaching sermons, feedback on delivering a funeral, baptism, all the pieces. And then when I left that congregation because the commute was a little bit far and ended up joining Robert Kennedy's church, All Nations Fellowship, he had me do a test run of a sermon and he asked me, and I loved it. It set me free. He said, "That was awesome, but who was that?" He said it was sound doctrine.
mm,
It was all the pieces. He said, but it's not the young lady I see in the hallways interacting with the children, interacting with other people. He said, you have more
oh,
personality than that. Be yourself.
oh,
And then after that sermon, when we were ordained, it was myself and one other lady. He said, you all are not called to be teachers. Don't let anybody say you're a speaker. You all are ministers of the gospel and you were called to preach. He said, if you ever get
oh,
someone and they tell you be beneath the pulpit, but deliver, he said, walk out. God called you to
oh,
preach and minister, and
Mm.
that's who you are. And I needed that because I didn't think I would stack up. I'm designed for an elementary. I'm very silly. And with that, been 27 years into education. This is my 8th year as a building leader. I love, love, love serving people. I love finding people exactly where they are. I used to do youth ministry at a juvenile detention center or the juvenile detention center here. And I love it because they take you as you are. You don't have to come up with this
oh,
cleaned up church version of yourself, and you can really reach them where they are. And so I love
oh.
finding I think my role in ministry is fish and then send them into church where they get cleaned up.
I love that. I love that. We all have a part, whether we're planting or watering or fishing, we all have a role to play. That's so good. And I love that they spoke that encouragement over you and it really affirmed and released you to do what God has asked you to do. That's so good. Well, I know that you're in education and you've been in ministry. What sparked this passion to help Christian women navigate leadership in professional environments? Because it's different.
For me, I started to notice when I was in the juvenile detention center working with those young ladies, they saw us as finished products. They didn't
Mm,
think that we had a story to tell. And as a matter of fact, I even had a few ladies at one of the congregations that I attended. It was like, I have to go with you to the detention center. And I said, no, you don't. Because if you go there, you may not want to sit with me on the front row at church ever again. Those young ladies get to hear all
Mm.
of my good, my bad, my ugly, because it sets them
Mm.
free and it doesn't give them a place of judgment. It actually validates that, hey, I was unwed with my first child. I was at a crossroads of what do I do to ensure that there's not another kid, another kid, another kid, another kid. Their kids are 6 years apart. So I'm able to tell them those hard knock life stories. And so I started
Yeah.
noticing there, those kiddos saw us as polished. And then I started noticing in the educational realm of public education, you had so many frustrated Christians of, we've taken prayer out of school, we've taken the Bible out of school. And I would say, if you put Christians in buildings, you've not taken the Bible out of school. Because I can walk a
Mm.
scholar through, you know, love thy neighbor. I can walk them through. God has not given you a conscience of fear and trembling, but a power of love and a sound mind. And you're not crazy, is what I chase that with. I can give them those principles without ever attaching it to a scripture. I can give, a matter of fact, I've
Mhm.
taken my badge off in my office when I've dealt with some parents and even said, sounds like you need more than a principal. If you allow me, I'll be more than a principal. Now, I never tell them I'm going to be a minister.
Mm.
I tell them I will be your great play Amy. I'll be your great play mom. So when I've encountered the young ladies that just needed my transparency, when I've encountered parents that needed to know that I would pray for them, love on them, and make them level up, it allowed
Yeah.
me to see that so many times we keep saying kids have changed. They have not.
Hmm.
Parents have changed. We've
Mm.
softened our ways, we've lowered our standards, and we still want our offspring to thrive. We're missing a
Mm.
key element of train up a child and not dress up a child. Not train up a child and not
Mm.
befriend a child. Those are not the things I read. So once I've
Mm.
realized that pattern, I started realizing about 4 years into principalship. I was like, I need an all call button for all the moms. Wake up. So then I started an LLC in February of 2022, as a matter of fact, because I wanted to create a space where women could see, one, as Christians, we can still do this work in public school settings. We don't have to,
Mm.
I love it most when employees or parents have interacted with me for 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then finally they go, I knew it was something different about you. You're a minister, huh? And I went, yeah. I don't like to announce it. I like for you to see it from my works.
Yeah,
And I've always
that's good.
told people I wanted my pastor to walk into work accidentally or just show up if they were to and see me conducting a meeting or see me interacting with a staff member and say, I still know her, not who are you.
Mm.
So I've tried
Mm.
to create these spaces where women could see we can still do this work. We can still have our levels of integrity. We can still
Yeah.
lead with dignity in this sometimes male dominated corporate America, still balance our
Right.
families, and just navigate through without having to throw the Bible at every conversation, but let it be
Yeah.
your works. I think I heard it best in a book, and it said, spread the gospel, and if necessary, use words.
Yes, I love
Mm.
that quote. So good. So good. And I know I can see Brandy's like right there thinking about a question, and I'm gonna let you roll because I have a question, but I can see it on you.
So, yeah, no. So, like, our audience doesn't know that Katrina and we have known each other for years, and I've had the privilege of watching her build out this ministry and the work that she's doing. But, Katrina, I want you to kind of just give our audience a little bit of a peek behind the scenes. What was that journey like for you when you stepped into starting your LLC and creating this space where women could have a voice and learn how to be empowered with using that voice? It
Mm.
wasn't always a bed of roses.
Well, I went into it kicking and screaming with God. So I fought God over this whole idea of going to ministry, first of all, for ordained, being ordained. And that was back in 2009-ish when I started seminary. There's actually a journal and I keep it. There's almost like two penmanships where I'm telling God why not. And God goes back and tell me why yes. And then I'm
Uh,
in this class, and then it set me free when they said, do you realize Jonah being on the ship, being obedient, that fisherman lost everything? And my first seminary
mm.
teacher said, how many people are on your ship? I was like, I'm thinking about my relatives. So that was step one. Just accepting the call to ministry was a battle. Next, I've always worked with teenagers. When you and I met, I was leading the teenagers at our church. I am such a tomboy and a goof noodle. I am not your handbag, nail salon lady that I have always shied away from grown adult women. I can be at a
Mm.
family setting and I'm going to gravitate to the teenagers or the boys in the family, and I am A-okay because I don't know hair colors, salon, nails. Look at those. I don't know that. And so as I was there, little did you know, the more I did the girl term ministry, God kept pulling me away from it. And I kept saying, no. And I kept telling my husband, I was like, I think God is calling me to women. And I said, that's not my jam. I don't know. I do not want to do that. And I would be at the gym in the morning because I do the gym 5 days a week for sanity and endorphin sake. And it would be a lady in the locker room after 2 or 3 days of encounters go, would you mentor me? And I'm like, Then there would be a lady randomly at work. And then there would be someone that randomly would follow my tweets and say, hey, I love the work you do as a principal. I would love for you to mentor me. And I told my husband, there it is again. I think God is calling me towards the women and not the girls. What are we going to do with this? And then just seeing the need. I
Mhm.
choose schools that are very, very difficult operating spaces. My
Yeah.
last school was in the highest per capita area in Dallas County, in Forest Lane, Skillman area. And you deal with ladies that are coming in so much of high crisis. And I realized
Mhm.
I needed to give more than what I could give. And I told my husband, I said, there it is. I need to
Mm.
create a platform where I can put the haves and the have nots in the same space. Not everybody had a mother like Phyllis, my mom, who's no longer with me, who gave me basic principles of life. And those ladies would come in my office and say, Miss, I don't know what I'm doing. I wasn't parented well.
Mhm.
I left Shreveport, or I left Jackson, Mississippi, or I left Dayton, Ohio. They were coming from everywhere in that little pocket of that zip code I was in. And they said, I just know I
Mm.
want something different. And so I
Yeah.
started Spark Tomorrow 22, that ladies ministry, just trying to be a bright light because that was my thing. Like, we've got to quit condemning these young moms that will admittedly, if you give them a chance, they'll tell you, I don't know what I'm doing. But
Right.
how can I create this networking space where the Brandies and this little scarred single mom end up in the same spot so that they can grow and develop one another? How do I
Mhm.
create this spot where a veteran principal can be in the same place as a young lady that wants to get out of fast food service industry? So I've tried to create this space where they could be in the same room, and it's fun of how I have to market it. So I have to market it to a brand of come grow and network and fellowship because she will meet another professional there. And then I have to find these moms that I know are in these situations. I'm like, come and grow and we're gonna nurture you and love on you and let them be in
Yeah.
that same space and grow one another.
Mm.
My husband, we say behind the scenes, he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I do not know. But I will say he encouraged every step along the way. He was like, if anybody can do this, you can. I remember calling my dad in tears. I was driving back from Tyler. It was one of those moments where I knew I knew God had called me to public speak. I knew it called me to motivationally coach and things. And one of my friends had called me to her conference in Tyler, and she said, do that thing you do on health. I was like, there's not a thing I do on health, but okay, sure. And my younger son kept saying, Mom, you got to start recording yourself. Got to start recording yourself. And so I'm watching that video on my way back to Dallas, and with no notes, that morning of was kind of like my prep on the way to Tyler. I'm watching that going, look at God. Like, what did he
Yeah.
just unfold?
Hmm.
And I called my dad
Mm.
and I said, Dad, I got it. He goes, what? I said, I know what I'm supposed to do. He goes, your principal. I said, no. I am designed to grow and build a capacity of others. I'm watching this video. I said, that is crazy. The things that I'm saying that I didn't rehearse that are just flowing. I said, that
Yeah.
is my call. So it's definitely
Yeah.
a gift from God. I don't take ownership over it. And I do know that some of the conferences is a full house. It's 40 to 60 women. Saturday, we had 12. And I just know that every time I'm going to give it all that I got so that haves and have nots continue to grow each other. And each time I go, this is my last one. And someone will go, let me know when you do your next one, okay? Because I'm bringing my cousin, and I'm like, okay, that isn't my last one. So it's been a
I
journey.
love
It's been a journey. And it scares me
Yeah.
because I typically don't operate well with grown ladies. I don't.
that.
I
Mm,
appreciate you sharing that and the transparency, Katrina, because
yeah,
a lot of women serving in ministry, they have a similar moment where they're like, God is calling me to a thing, and I'm like running from that thing.
yeah,
And I appreciate the example you shared about the Jonah. Like, how many people are actually losing because
yeah,
you're on the boat and you're hiding your gift? And so, for our audience, these are women who are either feeling a call in ministry or running from their call in ministry, or they're nervous about their call in ministry. And I hope that they
yeah.
pay attention to what you just shared about how it's not always easy. And it's usually not the thing that you think that it's going to be, but it's always the thing that you've been designed to do. Melissa, what do you have?
I love that. And Katrina, I was so tracking with everything you said because I will agree. It's usually people I always thought it was going to be like this. "Ah, I was made for this moment and the light was going to come down and it'd be like, go forth and do the thing." And everything you said is so accurate. I'm a boy mom and God called me to lead women. And I'm like, how is that? I'm a tomboy. I don't do my nails and all the other things either. And I just appreciate the fact that you shared and led us into that. And what I heard you say that was so awesome is you did it, you did it scared, and you gave God all the glory. And that's power. That is power. And the fact that you're making space for um this community to mix and to blend and to care and to share. You also said something earlier that um was so great. You said you said something like there nobody would sit with you on the front row again if they went with you. Is that you're showing up. You are showing up authentic and real and transparent. You don't have to be all done up and all perfect. You're showing up and you're being Jesus with skin on to people and really just loving them where they are. And so I just want to say thank you for that. But I also want to ask you this because I agree with Brandy. There are a lot of women here that are listening right now that are going, huh? How do I do that? And or how do I cuz you talked about, God's not out of the schools if he placed you in that role. So how what kind of guidance would you offer women who feel that tension between their faith values and their workplace expectations, whether it's school, in the church, in a nonprofit, in the marketplace, in your home, at your grocery store, like cuz we're all called, right? So how do women navigate that tension of their faith and where they got to just make the money?
I would strongly encourage everyone just do the work. God says render to unto Caesar which is Caesar, and unto
Mhm.
God what is God. I would say when you're in the workplace, just do the work, follow the company policy that is of God as well. And just keep your eyes open. You really, really want to be at work. Just say you work at IBM, you work at Aetna, you work anywhere, do the
Mhm.
work, follow the policy because that's important. We say we are his and we're slouching in. We say we're his and we're always the saddest person in the room. I wouldn't want to
Mm.
become that Christian if
Hmm.
I watched you, if I was a coworker. But more
Right.
importantly, eyes are windows to the soul. Maybe you're
Mm.
the coworker at IBM and you're not so busy doing all the things that as you're on your way to the copier, you do notice. So you're like, wait, hold on. Can I pause you for a moment? You seem a little sad. Is everything okay today? I just
Love that.
wanted you to know I see you and you seem a little different. That
Mm.
is how you can be of him. You don't have to offer to pray. Just I just want you to know I'm wishing you well,
Yeah.
and then the next week you see that person, hey, you seem a little bit happier, I'm just kind of watching. You don't have to, I think sometimes we're frustrated. We can't say, Second Timothy, or we can't say First Corinthians, and we can't say Psalm 125. Just live it. Live it and be
Yeah.
your sister's keeper, be your brother's keeper. There's probably someone on your job that's younger that needs some mentoring. That's of God. That's,
Mhm.
Jesus had his disciples and he was showing them, teaching them. So I think as much as you can just live out the word at work,
Yeah.
you won't get frustrated,
Mm.
because you can't, have to do a report. and say, I was just in my office praying. That's not going to feed your family, if we're going to be honest. If you
Right,
can't do ministry full time, and there was a time where I wanted to do it full time, it never presented itself. It's like you're in a school
right,
system, you got to push star data and love the Lord while you do it. But I think
right.
just walking it out, treating people like you want to be treated, making sure that your office space, your classroom, your floor, if you work floors in a corporation, maybe your floor is working to have the healthiest culture, the happiest
Mm,
disposition. They say if a leader sneezes, organization gets a cold. So maybe
mm,
if you're just so upbeat and so lively, I tell any new teacher, I said, this is what I do now. There are principals and directors out there much smarter than I am. I don't deny that. But you'll be hard pressed to find one that works harder than I, and hard pressed to find one that will see you every day. That
oof.
much I tell them I will put money on it. It'll be harder to find one better than I in that category. But why? I let my light shine. I have been
Yeah.
through some things. I mean, my oldest son was getting away from me my first year as a principal. He moved to Mexico to get away from me. He went and played football to get away from me. Brandy's husband mentored him back to life when that was a train wreck. But no one in my building knew that I was crying myself to sleep at night because
Yeah.
how dare my
Yeah.
22-year-old leave his mom who was giving sound advice and to get away from me when, life happens. As a
Yeah.
Christian, the best thing we can do is park that in the car, go into our workplace, and look like the light. Let people say,
Mm.
there's something different about you. We just heard
Yes.
there were going to be layoffs, and you're still walking around smiling. We just heard that the company was doing downsizing and people are panicking, and you're walking in saying good morning like nothing is bothering you. Let people wonder, what is that thing inside of you that allows you to show up differently, operate
Mm,
differently. I love it when my staff go, that mom just cursed you out. And I go, I know. They go, I go, no, it's not me. It's something that parents going through. And I know
absolutely.
it wasn't me. Don't
Yep.
don't personalize it. Like, model excellence in your countenance.
Mhm.
Be fruits of the
Mm,
spirit in all the work that you do. I think when you see it that way and not what you
yeah.
can't do, I think we're so busy. They won't let me post my Bible scriptures. They won't let me put my prayer wall up. Okay, they won't let you do that. But what can you do in the
That's right.
actions that no one can take
Yeah.
from you? No boss is going to say, quit coming in here smiling, Katrina.
Right.
I like it when I walk in your
Absolutely.
building and everybody's happy and full of joy. Like, that was one of the, I will say that was one of the first things. I just moved to a new environment. I left Richardson ISD that I've been in 20 years. I came to Uplift Education and I was so nervous. I was like, I've been in one environment for 20 years. Now I'm moving. And one of the MDs, the very first week, it was like that Friday. I'm like, well, come to see me on that Friday. It's like a team of them, deputy superintendent. And one of them said, come here. And I go, oh, here we go. She goes, this place is different. She said, people want to be
Mhm.
here this year. Their teachers are excited about teaching that I haven't seen excited about teaching. I said, we're trying. She said, no, I've been in this building before you. You're not trying, you're doing it. The
Wow.
counseling is
Mm.
different. And that was one weekend. And then I had another lady last Monday. She came over and I was like, okay, what do you need? She followed me to cafeteria duty. She left away. She came back. She goes, I just kind of like being in your building. And I was like, that's a good thing, because I tell teachers education is hard. And for most that
Yeah.
are in corporate America, the job is hard. My goal as a
Yeah.
leader is to make a hard job at least exciting or worth doing. I want you to park your car and go walking in the building. I want kids to turn the corner in the car with their mom on car liner, like, can't wait to get out. Because I can't take the
Yeah.
hard work out of it, just how
Mm-mm.
we do the work. So I think women that are watching, just how you do the work, how you let people see that you are connected to the true vine matters.
Oh man,
Oh
that's
my
so
gosh.
good. There's so much in that. Like there was so I hope if you're listening, you just push pause, rewind it a little bit and listen to that again.
Yeah, my total takeaway was be the light. Do the work and just show up as the light. I mean, it takes all the pressure off you. Be the fruit of the Spirit. That's what the Holy Spirit is living inside of you, and allow Him to do His good work through you. But Katrina,
Mhm.
I also appreciate that you said, you know what, it is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't like make any bones about that. And so a lot of the women in our audience, whether in full-time ministry, is that as their profession, or if they're working in corporate or like yourself in the school district, they're trying to figure out, okay, I'm just barely making it myself. How do I show up? How do I let the light shine through? Give us
Mm.
some practical rhythms that you have found that work best for you to really embody what God is calling you to in this season.
I'm glad you asked. I and now some of this has come from professional therapy as well because I do think there's that place. I lost my
Yep.
mom November 2023. I think I know I cried every day until about March when I was like, okay, it's time for a therapist. Let's try to reset this
Yeah.
thing. So one of the things that the therapist said, you do a great job of decompressing before work, and it seems like after work. She said, what about
Mm,
during work? And I was like,
Mm.
you need to go from
mm,
one event to the next. So she gave me some tips, just like drinking water, H2O, oxygen. So just taking in water helps to reoxygenate your brain and slow you down. Are you taking,
Mm.
and most corporate women, there you go, most corporate women, are we taking like shallow breaths? Just ask your stop and check your breath the next day you're at work. Or are you
Mm.
finally
mm.
taking a deep breath? Taking a deep breath. Like, where are you at just with daily breathing? For me, everybody's different. I love to reset at the gym. The gym is my playground. I am a Toys R Us kid that doesn't grow up. Some mornings I swing, some mornings I racquetball, some mornings I go in the steam room and sing and laugh and joke with myself. But definitely think just finding those rhythms and things that help you disconnect from the work
Mhm.
because
Mm.
seven healthy habits of highly effective people. Stephen Covey, you have to sharpen the saw. Finding the balances, the boundaries. About 3 years into principalship, I was burnt out. My staff was burnt out. I was like, could it be me? So I
Mm.
reestablished like after 5 p.m., I am not going to send you an email. I expect you not to send me one or expect a response the next day. At first, we were all like, but it taught us how to be more tight. On the
Yeah.
weekend, do
Mm.
not expect an email from me. I don't expect an email from you. If I do, no, I will Monday morning that thing. I sometimes will see it. But you just have to find those boundaries that really stop. And in principalship, you never know how your day is going to end. So for me, my boundaries is one of my boundaries is in the morning. So I switch my workouts to AM. So I'm at the gym before, which is why, I'm the person at 7:15 going, good morning, and how are you? Good morning. I mean, the endorphins are going, and it just changes the state. I
Yeah.
don't know if any of the ladies on have researched and found that, you know, humor takes your brain from the back of the brainstem, a flight. It moves it up toward the front, where the frontal lobe that allows you to do the heavier cognitive load and lifting. So, yes, start your morning with a prayer chant. I always do, but find something that is involving a little humor and a little laughter. I do a joke of the day for our scholars, and I tell them this. I do the joke of the day to build your vocabulary. So you go from literal to figurative and creative thinking. Usually,
Mhm.
most riddles and things are full of multi-meaning words. And I tell them, if you're not reading enough, you don't know my jokes. And then also, I tell them because I need to move them from fight or flight, the back of their brainstem, to their frontal lobe. And so, same for the teachers. Also, found this recently. Try it. Two crazy things. I dare the ladies on here to try it. Grief will push you to some places. A fake laugh, your brain doesn't know the difference. So, if you fake,
Mm.
up the freeway. I don't do it in my neighborhood. They think I'm crazy. I do it up the freeway, 5 a.m. Next one, try it. It's crazy. Scream. Just driving up the
Mm.
freeway. I don't do it in my neighborhood, but every now and then I just go, ah, just as loud as I can in my car. I didn't want to scare the people around here. But it just really, you just drive up the freeway early or when you think no one else is watching on the freeway and just let out a tremendous scream. And you're like,
Mm.
what just happened? You could actually kind of sometimes just feel
Yeah.
things moving down, like, okay, I'm a little relaxed. So a fake scream
Hmm.
and a fake laugh can release quite a bit. I know. Try it out.
That's amazing. I've heard of the screaming, believe it or not. I've heard of the, scream, scream hard, scream loud, kind of like releases all of this stuff. But I honestly didn't know about the fake laugh thing. And I, I mean, I'm all about a good laugh, but even it's almost kind of like you're resetting and making yourself get into this right place. That's amazing and simple. quite honestly, but how many times, same thing with drinking water, how many times are we not doing the things that we need to do to
Mhm.
kind of get back in the right headspace? Can I ask you this?
Yes.
So you've talked a lot about how you can be the light and how you can show up and you can kind of change the atmosphere just by your presence. I want to give people listening just one practical step on how to lead um confidently, not just be the light and not just balance our values in our workplace, but like show up and be confident in who God created you to be. What's one step that listeners can take this week?
Well, I would say I'm gonna take this again, maybe from Stephen Covey. I guess I've read too many of his books. But just the speed of trust. Trust is built on those
Um,
two things: your competence and your character. I would say when you have to lead, one, examine: are you over promising and not delivering? Do you show up on time
Mm.
for deadlines? Do you no show people? If you have your character in place and there's a level of integrity about you, when you stand before the
yeah.
people you have to lead, you're not doing a walk of shame in that moment. When I stand before my
Oh,
staff tomorrow, I'll stand before them knowing that almost everyone in that room, if they had a question for me, I know I've worked tirelessly to answer it. I've tried to see you, like I made it down. I can tell you there was only 4 classrooms today that did not get a personal greeting from me today, and they were at recess. Those were fourth grade classes. But I tried to on the bookend, especially about the long weekend, greet people, and I'll go, "Good morning, Miss Smith. Good morning, fifth grade scholars. Make it a great day." And I wait till Miss Smith looks up, then I walk up.
yeah,
So I would say, one, if your character's in place with the people you're ready to lead, it's that much easier to lead and be confident in front of them. Competent. Know your stuff. Do your homework.
oh,
I don't have to say it to this audience, but for women, we're already judged on a higher scale. A guy can come in, sorry, man, fumbling, looking for the folder. There's people going, here you go, here you go. We come in and fumbles like, she wasn't ready. We come in and
mm,
fumble. Who promoted her? We come in and fumble. See, that's why Tim should have led this piece. She tries. So be competent. Do your homework. Try to anticipate the questions of the audience in front of you. So I just think it
yeah,
goes down to trust. Do people trust you? Are you competent and have you prepared as well as you
yeah,
can? There's going to be skeptics in the crowd. And then your character. When you've done that, you can walk in. I believe you can walk in any space and feel
yeah,
confident about leading. There's nothing about, and I'm firm on. I ask people often, "Am I living up to my interview? I asked for this
Mm.
job. I wanted this job. Am I living up to my interview?" I don't want to be
oh,
a hypocrite. Just that is one of my biggest pet peeves. Don't say it. Don't walk it. You've heard me say it before. If you can't talk it, so I think if you want to show up confident, come in prepared. Come
yeah,
in with your character in
Mhm.
place, where
That's
you
good.
know the reason you're in that seat was not favors. And
hmm
I mean, in every category of favors, I mean, nepotism, sexual favors, flirting. Like, go into that room knowing that it was your resume and your body of work on that seat that you're in. Make no
yep,
apologies. My first year as a building principal in the last place, I had a couple employees said, "This is our school." I was like, "Oh, sorry. We hope you make it here." I was like, "Oh, I don't think you really mean that. I really don't think you mean that." But I had to go home every day and tell myself, one, I prayed for this position, and I didn't just pray for principalship. About 2 years into that prayer, I started saying, "God, I'm praying for successful principalship." So it's like, "God, if I pray for successful principalship, you have me here because I have purpose." So for
yeah,
those that need those practical pieces, prepare, remind yourself you're prepared, keep your character in place. Don't color outside the lines. It always finds you. I've seen it find so many people. And not that I have a perfect track record about life, but don't do a work in a way that, again, you shame your parents, you shame yourself, or it could end up on the news.
Yeah. Wow. So much in that. So much in that. Brandy, you have something? I feel like it's on the tip of your tongue again.
I mean, no, honestly, I'm just listening to Katrina and reflecting on just conversations we've had with other women's in our community and in our membership. And
Yeah.
and even as you're working through the material in our membership, so much of what she said, we really kind of included in our roadmap. And I just
Yeah.
think that for those of you who are watching, listening, or even hitting the rewind button or replay, just being mindful that there are so many ways that you can show up confidently when
Yep.
you have your character and your competence in tow. And so many times we want to just show up and be like, okay, I'm here. Now give me all the things that I desire. And even in the Lord's shaping and growing and developing of us,
Mm,
he says grace and mercy will follow you. And so we need to think about if the Lord is going to have two things following me, then the least I can do is make sure that my competence and my character are
ooh,
also in tow. And so that
yeah.
we can show up as women of faith. So I just appreciate what you've been sharing, Katrina. And I really think that it's a good reminder that we have a responsibility not only to show up because we're women, but to show up because we are daughters of the King.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Katrina, I have one last question for you. I want to make sure that listeners have an opportunity to connect with you. So, how would they connect with you and where would they learn more about the work that you're doing?
Okay, I can be reached via email sparktomorrow22. So SPARKTOMORROW 22 at gmail.com. That's my email address. Pretty much the exact same thing, Spark Tomorrow 22. I'm trying TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, just Katrina Collins. And I do
Okay.
have an actual website if you ever needed someone to be your life coach or to be a motivational speaker. And that is sparktomorrow22.com. Why Spark Tomorrow? Because I just love being a bright light. And I said,
Uh,
whenever I'm on YouTube and those pieces, just being a bright light to your next step, your next chapter, your next big thing.
yeah.
And I am big on quit putting the negativity into these children or those young moms or that. Just be a bright light to them. There's a child out
Yeah.
there that needs you to be their bright light. There's a young mom, a young wife, someone just aspiring that just needs you to be a bright light. Maybe that's all they need to get going.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if this conversation inspired, encouraged, challenged you, please make sure to rate, review it, subscribe, share it with a friend so that more people can find out about the Ministry Chick Network podcast as well as the work that Katrina is doing. Katrina, we are so grateful that you joined us today, and we will see you next time on the Ministry Chick Network podcast.